Imagine this. Two companies, both sell the same phone. One is worth $10 billion, the other, $2 trillion. The difference isn't their technology, it's what's invisible. We live in a world where ideas are worth more than factories, where brands are more powerful than buildings, and where data quietly becomes gold. But here's the question. If value is invisible now, how can you, an investor, creator, or entrepreneur, learn to see it? In the next minutes, we're going to uncover a hidden layer of wealth that defines the modern economy: intangible assets. You'll discover how the richest companies quietly convert ideas into billions, how invisible capital drives stock prices, and how you can use the same logic to build wealth that doesn't depend on luck or labor. This is the untold story behind Apple's $3 trillion valuation, Google's data empire, and how small creators online build seven-figure businesses without owning a single product. Let's rewind to the 1950s. The world's biggest companies were industrial giants: steel, oil, cars. Their value was physical. You could measure it: machines, inventory, land. But as the digital age unfolded, something flipped. In 1975, over 80% of corporate value came from tangible assets. By 2025, that number dropped below 10%. The rest, 90%, now comes from intangibles: brand, software, intellectual property, algorithms, customer relationships, goodwill, patents, and data. Think about it. Coca-Cola's factories might be worth a few billion, but the brand name Coca-Cola? Over $70 billion. The lesson: the real economy has moved from atoms to bits, from metal to meaning. But here's where it gets tricky. If value is invisible, how do you measure it? How do you trust it? How do you invest in something you can't touch? This is why markets seem irrational. Investors overvalue dreams and undervalue things. Tesla was worth more than the next 10 car companies combined before it ever made consistent profits. Why? Because the market wasn't buying cars. It was buying vision. Yet that same logic can destroy fortunes. Remember WeWork? Its valuation hit $47 billion based on nothing more than a story. When the illusion broke, it collapsed to less than $10 billion. The invisible economy cuts both ways. It can make billionaires or vaporize them overnight. So the real challenge isn't spotting intangible assets. It's learning which ones truly hold power. Here's the truth. Intangible assets follow a different logic than physical ones. 1. They scale infinitely. A factory makes one product at a time. A software algorithm makes millions, instantly. 2. They have near zero cost. Once created, knowledge or code can be replicated endlessly. 3. They grow stronger with use. Unlike a machine that wears out, a brand or network becomes more valuable as more people use it. 4. They attract compounding trust. Apple doesn't sell phones. It sells reliability, emotion, and status. That's psychological wealth. But not all intangibles are created equal. Brand power. Think Nike's "Just Do It." One slogan turned into a global identity. Data ownership. Amazon's secret weapon isn't logistics. It's knowing what 300 million people will buy next. Intellectual property. Pharma companies can sell a $10 pill for $1,000 because of patents. Network effects. Facebook became unstoppable once it reached a social critical mass. These are invisible fortresses, wealth that can't be stolen or duplicated easily. Let's break this down with real-world examples. Apple's brand. Analysts estimate over $300 billion of Apple's valuation is its brand alone. That means every time you buy an iPhone, you're paying for a story, not metal. Let's rewind. In 1976, Apple wasn't a global icon. It was two guys in a garage, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, tinkering with circuit boards. Their first goal wasn't to change the world, it was to make a living. But Jobs had something Woz didn't: a vision. He understood something deeper about human nature, that people don't just buy products, they buy stories. While other tech companies focused on specs, Jobs obsessed over meaning. He believed that a computer was not just a machine, but a tool for creativity, a canvas for human expression. That belief shaped everything Apple did: the clean designs, the minimal packaging, the poetic ads. Every piece whispered the same message: think different. And that's where the magic began. But let's be honest, Apple wasn't always perfect. In the 80s, they lost their edge. Microsoft dominated the market. PCs were everywhere. Apple's market share collapsed, and by the mid-90s, they were on the brink of bankruptcy. Then came the turning point: the return of Steve Jobs. Jobs didn't just rebuild Apple, he reimagined it. He stripped down the product line, focused on beauty and simplicity, and redefined what technology could feel like. He didn't sell features, he sold emotion. Remember the iPod launch? 1,000 songs in your pocket, not megapixels, not gigabytes, just magic. That's when Apple became something more than a company. It became a mirror for people's aspirations. They weren't buying technology, they were buying identity. And here's the kicker: people wanted to pay more, because the higher the price, the deeper the story. Apple turned luxury into logic. So what exactly makes Apple's brand worth $300 billion? It's the art of emotional design. Every product, every ad, every keynote triggers a psychological sequence: curiosity, aspiration, belonging, pride. Let's break that down. 1. Curiosity. Apple never tells you everything. Their ads are mysterious, minimalist. You lean in. You want to discover. 2. Aspiration. The visuals, the music, the tone. It makes you feel like Apple is the future, and you want to be part of it. 3. Belonging. Once you own it, you're in the tribe. The sleek logo becomes your badge. 4. Pride. You show it off. You feel smarter, cooler, different. That's emotional engineering, and Apple does it better than anyone else. Even the packaging matters. When you unbox an iPhone, it's slow, deliberate, almost ceremonial. That's not an accident. It's designed to release dopamine, the pleasure hormone, at just the right pace. Apple knows your brain better than you do. Let's look at how Apple's psychology plays out in real life. Case 1. The store experience. Walk into an Apple store. Notice the lighting, the open tables, the lack of clutter. Everything screams clarity. You don't see salespeople, you see specialists. They're not pushing you to buy. They're guiding you to believe. Case 2. The ecosystem trap. Apple products talk to each other seamlessly. Your iPhone unlocks your Mac. Your AirPods switch automatically. This isn't convenience, it's control. Once you're inside the ecosystem, leaving feels like betrayal. Case 3. The product reveal. Think of the iPhone keynote. The dark stage, the single spotlight, the hush before the reveal. It's not a product launch, it's theater. Jobs once said, "People don't know what they want until you show it to them." That's power. Case 4. The price psychology. Ever wonder why Apple rarely discounts? Because scarcity breeds desire. Discounts erode trust. When Apple charges $1,000 for a phone, it signals status. And people don't buy the phone. They buy the feeling of owning it. Now here's the kicker. You can apply the same logic to your brand. It's not about copying Apple. It's about understanding human behavior and crafting an experience that resonates with emotion, not logic. Here's how to build a brand like Apple, even if you're starting small. 1. Tell a story, not a pitch. Don't sell features, sell transformation. What does your product do for people emotionally? 2. Design for emotion. From your logo to your colors to your tone, every detail should evoke feeling. 3. Create a community, not just customers. Give people a reason to belong. Use shared values, inside jokes, and rituals. 4. Master simplicity. Clarity is luxury. The less you say, the more powerful it sounds. 5. Be consistent. Every touchpoint, your emails, website, packaging, must feel like one brand voice. And finally, 6. Play the long game. Apple didn't build its empire overnight. It took decades of patience, precision, and purpose. Here's the brutal truth. Apple doesn't sell technology. It sells trust. A trust built on emotion, design, and storytelling so powerful, it turns consumers into believers. Every time you see that glowing apple, remember, you're not just looking at a brand. You're looking at one of the greatest human experiments in perception and persuasion. So next time you hold your iPhone, ask yourself, are you using it, or is it using you? If you learned something today, stay till next week. We're decoding more of the world's wealth psychology, branding secrets, and financial illusions. And if you're building your own brand, think different. Google's algorithm. Its PageRank patent changed everything. For years, it wasn't the ads that made Google rich. It was owning the attention pipeline. Let's rewind to 1996. The internet was chaotic. Thousands of pages, no structure, and no real way to find what mattered. Search engines like Yahoo and AltaVista existed, but they were dumb. They listed results by counting keywords, not by quality or trust. Then, 2 PhD students at Stanford, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, came up with a radical idea. What if the value of a web page wasn't determined by what it said, but by who linked to it? They called it PageRank. It was based on an elegant insight. The web is a network of recommendations. If a page is linked by many others, especially by trusted ones, it probably contains something valuable. That idea was inspired by academia. In science, a paper's importance is measured by how many other papers cite it. PageRank simply brought that logic to the web. At first, it was just a research paper, but soon it became something far bigger. Because PageRank didn't just rank web pages, it ranked attention. And whoever controls attention controls the economy. But here's where it gets interesting. Google didn't invent advertising. It reinvented it. In the early 2000s, the dot-com bubble burst. Billions in online ad dollars vanished overnight. Most internet companies failed because they chased traffic, not trust. Google survived, and then dominated, because it understood something deeper. People don't want ads. They want answers. And if you own the pipeline through which people find those answers, you don't have to sell products. You sell access to attention. That's what AdWords became, not the main product, but the monetization layer on top of PageRank's attention engine. Competitors tried to copy the ad model but missed the essence. Yahoo sold space. Google sold certainty. The certainty that people searching for buy running shoes were ready to buy. PageRank gave them that precision. It turned the chaos of the web into a map of human intent. And intent, not inventory, became the most valuable resource in business. Let's zoom out. PageRank wasn't just an algorithm. It was a philosophy of information. It taught the world that trust can be quantified. That reputation, when measured at scale, creates efficiency. That relevance is a form of currency. In essence, Google built an attention market. Every website became a bidder in a silent auction for visibility. Every backlink, a vote of confidence. Every search query, a whisper of human curiosity. Monetized, indexed, and priced. And while everyone thought Google's wealth came from ads, the truth is, ads were just the toll booths. The real highway was attention flow. This changed how businesses operate forever. Brands stopped asking, "How do we sell more?" and started asking, "How do we rank higher?" PageRank quietly transformed capitalism. It made discoverability the new battleground, and it birthed a trillion-dollar attention economy, one where your success depends not just on what you sell, but on how algorithms perceive your value. Let's look at some real-world transformations. Case 1. Amazon. In its early days, Amazon relied heavily on Google search. Most of its traffic came organically because Google's PageRank identified it as a trusted source for books and later products. Over time, Amazon reverse-engineered that same logic inside its platform, birthing its own A9 algorithm, effectively a micro-page rank for products. Case 2. YouTube. When Google acquired YouTube in 2006, it didn't just buy a video site. It bought the next frontier of attention. YouTube's recommendation system, the modern heir to PageRank, applies similar logic. What you watch, who endorses it, and how it connects to the wider network. Every view, every like, every link, all feed the machine. Case 3. TikTok and the algorithmic arms race. TikTok doesn't use links, it uses engagement as its network. But the DNA is the same. PageRank's legacy lives in every algorithm that predicts, prioritizes, and profits from human attention. In short, every platform today is a descendant of PageRank. They may not show you links, but they rank your life. What you see, what you buy, what you believe. All mediated by invisible systems that trace back to a Stanford dorm room. So, what can you learn from this? 1. Understand the flow of attention. Don't chase trends. Build nodes of trust. In any algorithm, authority compounds. 2. Think in networks, not islands. Every collaboration, every mention, every share. It's a backlink in disguise. 3. Create for intent. The closer your content or product aligns with human intent, the more value the system assigns you. 4. Optimize for value, not virality. PageRank rewarded consistency and credibility. That principle still wins today. 5. Own your pipeline. Don't depend on algorithms alone. Build assets, emails, communities, data that feed your own ecosystem. Because in the attention economy, control isn't about owning the product. It's about owning the path to the product. The irony? Larry Page and Sergey Brin didn't set out to build an ad empire. They built a tool for truth and ended up creating capitalism's most powerful engine. Today, the web still runs on their insight. Attention, like money, flows to where trust accumulates. So the next time you Google something, remember, you're not just finding answers. You're fueling the most sophisticated attention marketplace in history. And the biggest lesson of all? If you can master how attention flows, you can build anything. Because in the modern world, PageRank isn't just an algorithm. It's a mirror, reflecting what humanity values most. Coca-Cola's formula, a secret recipe guarded for a century. The formula itself might be worth more than every factory combined. Disney's characters, Mickey Mouse, Marvel, and Star Wars. All intellectual properties that print money through licensing, merch, and nostalgia. Our story begins in 1886 in a small pharmacy in Atlanta. A curious chemist named John Pemberton was mixing ingredients to create a tonic that could ease headaches and boost energy. The result? A caramel-colored syrup that would soon change the world. He sold the formula to Asa Candler, a visionary marketer who didn't just see a drink. He saw a movement. Candler understood something profound about human psychology. People don't just buy what you make. They buy what they believe about what you make. And so, he wrapped Coca-Cola not in glass, but in mystique. The formula became the world's most closely guarded secret. Only 2 executives knew it at any given time. The original recipe was kept in a vault at SunTrust Bank, later moved to the World of Coca-Cola Museum. Still sealed, visible only through glass. Over time, this secrecy became part of Coca-Cola's identity. It wasn't just a soft drink, it was a legend in a bottle. The genius? The formula didn't have to be mysterious. It only had to feel mysterious. And that feeling turned into trust, curiosity, and desire. But every legend faces threats. During wars, sugar shortages, and global crises, competitors tried to crack Coca-Cola's code. Pepsi came closest, even mocking Coke's secrecy as unnecessary marketing. Yet, Pepsi never won the emotional war. Why? Because secrecy creates status. When something is hidden, our brains assign it value. It's the forbidden fruit effect. The more restricted it is, the more we desire it. Coca-Cola's competitors could copy the taste, but not the myth. And that's what built the moat. Not patents, not production, but perception. Still, secrecy is risky. In the 1970s, New Coke almost destroyed the company when it tampered with the original formula. People revolted, not because the drink was worse, but because it broke the trust. It violated the unspoken contract. We protect the formula, you protect the brand. That backlash proved something profound. Coca-Cola's value didn't live in its product, but in the idea of its product. And that's when executives realized the formula isn't just a recipe, it's a religion. So, what's the real secret behind Coca-Cola's secret? It's psychological ownership. When something is mysterious, our minds fill the gaps. And often, we fill them with imagination far more powerful than reality. That's what made Coca-Cola so successful. It didn't sell cola. It sold curiosity, comfort, and continuity. Generations grew up with the brand, and the secrecy became a ritual passed down like family lore. Think about it. The vault, the whispers, the idea that only 2 people know the truth. That myth created scarcity, not of supply, but of knowledge. And knowledge scarcity drives trust. Luxury brands like Rolex, Chanel, and Ferrari use the same playbook. You can't fully explain their appeal, because the mystery is the appeal. Coca-Cola weaponized this decades before branding became a science. They made secrecy part of the storytelling. And that story became so big that even if you revealed the formula today, nobody would care. Because the real formula is no longer in the vault. It's in our minds. Let's break down how Coca-Cola's secret formula became a business strategy. 1. Mystery as marketing. By never revealing the formula, Coke created a constant conversation. The absence of information became the product. 2. Symbolic ownership. Consumers began associating the brand with emotions, joy, nostalgia, connection, things no competitor could replicate. 3. Psychological scarcity. What's rare becomes precious. By limiting access to its formula, Coke made itself untouchable. 4. Cultural embedding. Every Christmas commercial, Olympic sponsorship, and vintage poster reinforced the myth. There's something special inside. Now, look at brands that learned from this. KFC's 11 herbs and spices, Google's algorithm, Apple's product development secrets. Each one turns confidentiality into charisma. They know what Coca-Cola knew early on. Mystery sells more than transparency. But there's a deeper lesson here for you, whether you're building a business, a personal brand, or a reputation. What you don't show is often more powerful than what you do. When you withhold, you create intrigue. And intrigue builds trust. Because curiosity is the currency of attention. Here's how you can apply Coca-Cola's secret formula strategy to your own success. 1. Create controlled mystery. Reveal the what, but not the how. Let people imagine the process behind your value. 2. Build symbolic value. Attach emotions, not just features, to your work. Make your product mean something beyond utility. 3. Protect your intellectual core. Whether it's a method, mindset, or model, protect the part that defines your edge. 4. Tell the story repeatedly. Repetition builds mythology. Mythology builds legacy. Remember, people don't fall in love with data. They fall in love with stories that feel sacred. So the next time you open a bottle of Coke, think about this. You're not just drinking sugar, caffeine, and caramel flavor. You're sipping on 138 years of storytelling. The real formula isn't chemical, it's psychological. It's the art of turning secrecy into sentiment, and sentiment into sales. Because in business, the greatest secret of all isn't what's hidden in the vault. It's knowing how to make people believe there's something worth hiding. Stay curious, protect your edge, and never underestimate the power of mystery. That's the real Coca-Cola formula, and it's available to anyone bold enough to bottle it. Amazon's data empire. Knowing your habits better than you do. Their intangible database predicts behavior. That's worth more than any warehouse. Let's rewind. In 1995, Amazon started as a humble online bookstore. But Jeff Bezos wasn't just building an online shop. He was building an information funnel. Every sale, every review, every browsing pattern became a microscopic piece of data. And over decades, those fragments turned into something extraordinary. A living, breathing database that tracks global consumer behavior in real time. By 2025, Amazon doesn't just store data, it predicts. It knows when you're running out of toothpaste, when your interests shift from fitness to home office, and when you're emotionally primed to spend. Think about it. When you buy a book about meditation, Amazon starts suggesting journals, candles, maybe even a yoga mat. But it's not random. It's trained on billions of behavior patterns from millions of users like you. It learns your rhythm. It anticipates your needs. And in a sense, it begins to know you better than you know yourself. Here's where it gets unsettling. Most people still believe Amazon makes money by selling things, but that's outdated thinking. In truth, Amazon's profit margins on physical goods are razor thin. The real gold mine lies in data. Every product you view becomes part of a behavioral graph, a massive web of cause and effect patterns. Did you linger too long on a pair of headphones? Amazon knows you're considering them. Did you check the reviews but didn't buy? It marks you as hesitant and shows you a discount later to nudge you over the edge. This isn't guesswork. It's behavioral economics at scale. But there's a darker layer. Amazon's algorithms don't just observe you, they train you. Over time, they subtly shape your buying patterns, curating what you see until you unconsciously start trusting Amazon's suggestions more than your own judgment. And that's where control shifts, from consumer to consumed, from free choice to engineered choice. Because every click isn't just feedback, it's training data. And the more you use it, the sharper it becomes at predicting and guiding your desires. So how did Amazon build this godlike predictive power? It starts with something called the flywheel effect. Every purchase generates data. Data improves recommendations. Recommendations boost sales. More sales create more data. A perfect self-reinforcing loop. Amazon's recommendation engine alone drives over 35% of its total revenue. Think about that. More than 1/3 of everything Amazon sells is powered by AI-driven suggestions. Now multiply that by Prime data, Alexa voice requests, Kindle reading habits, Ring camera feeds, and AWS analytics. And you have a surveillance network that spans not just commerce, but behavior itself. This is Amazon's real empire. Not physical goods, not logistics, but behavioral prediction at planetary scale. In fact, Amazon has patented something called anticipatory shipping, a system that sends products to regional warehouses before customers order them. because statistically, they already know what's coming. Amazon doesn't wait for demand, it foresees demand. And that's how it prints money. But here's the twist. This isn't just about selling more. It's about controlling flow. Data flow equals power. If Amazon can predict behavior, it can optimize pricing, control inventory, outmaneuver competitors, and even manipulate market trends. Let's look at a few real-world examples. Case 1. Prime Video isn't just entertainment. It's a psychological lab. Every pause, rewind, and abandoned show helps Amazon refine its understanding of attention. It learns when you're bored, when you're emotional, and what keeps you hooked. That data loops back into advertising, product placement, and even new product launches. Case 2. Alexa. Every command, order paper towels, play relaxing music, is behavioral metadata. It gives Amazon context about your lifestyle, your routines, even your mood. Case 3. Amazon Web Services, AWS. The backbone of the internet, from Netflix to NASA, runs on Amazon servers. That means Amazon doesn't just know what you buy, it powers what you use across the web. And finally, Case 4. Marketplace sellers. Amazon learns which independent sellers' products are performing well and quietly creates its own private label versions. Who needs competition when your data tells you what's profitable before they do? This is the invisible feedback loop of modern capitalism. The house doesn't just win, it writes the rules. So what can you do about it? First, awareness. Understand that data is currency. Every digital move you make has value. Treat your information like an asset, not an afterthought. Second, leverage the same system. If you're an entrepreneur or investor, think like Amazon. Collect ethical data. Use analytics to predict, personalize, and preempt. Because in today's economy, whoever understands behavior wins. Third, train the algorithm back. Curate your digital footprint intentionally. Every time you click, you teach the system who you are. So feed it the version of yourself that aligns with your goals. In the end, Amazon didn't just build an online store, it built a mirror. One that reflects our desires, fears, and impulses in real time. And maybe that's the most fascinating and frightening part. Because every recommendation is a story about who the algorithm thinks you are. But the real question is, are you writing that story? Or is Amazon writing it for you? If this opened your eyes, stay curious, stay aware. And remember, data may be invisible, but its power is not. Subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology of money, power, and the hidden systems shaping your world. And finally, the human version. Creators and small entrepreneurs today are building their own intangible empires. YouTubers with personal brands, freelancers with proprietary methods, coders with reusable frameworks, educators with unique insights. They're proof that intangible wealth isn't just for corporations anymore. So how can you apply this? 1. Start building intellectual property. Whether it's a framework, a method, or a creative process, document it. Own it. Let's start with a simple observation. In every field, there are doers, and there are owners. Doers execute. Owners document, name, and protect how things get done. When McKinsey creates a consulting method, it becomes their IP. When Tony Robbins develops a 6 human needs framework, it becomes his brand. When Ray Dalio writes principles, it becomes a philosophy others license and adopt. Most people have powerful ideas buried in their notebooks, voice memos, and Slack messages, but because they never formalize or name them, they never own them. In the new economy, information is the new oil, but processed information, refined into frameworks and systems, is the new gold. And here's the twist. You don't need to be a genius inventor or coder to build IP. You just need to notice your patterns, the repeatable ways you think, solve, and create. Here's the painful part. Most people give their best ideas away for free. You brainstorm at work. You solve problems creatively. You design methods that save time. But because they're undocumented, those ideas legally belong to your employer, your client, or simply vanish into thin air. Think about it. How many times have you said, "I figured out a better way to do this"? Now ask, did you write it down? Did you name it? Did you package it? That's where the wealth leaks happen. Corporations know this game. They have legal teams to protect trade secrets. They patent processes. They trademark slogans. They even copyright slide decks. Meanwhile, creators, freelancers, and small business owners, the ones bursting with ideas, fail to protect theirs. And the cost? A lifetime of working harder, while others license or copy their unclaimed brilliance. Here's the tension. The world rewards ownership, not contribution. Harsh? Yes. True? Absolutely. So, what exactly is intellectual property? In simple terms, it's any creation of the mind that has commercial value, something unique that you can prove is yours. There are 4 main categories. 1. Copyright, for creative works, writing, content, design, code. 2. Trademark, for brand names, slogans, and identity. 3. Patent, for inventions or unique processes. 4. Trade secret, for confidential business methods and know-how. But here's the insight few understand. Your personal frameworks are a form of intellectual property too. If you've developed a consistent way of doing something, like a coaching model, a marketing formula, a design process, that's proprietary knowledge. It's yours to name, package, and monetize. Every great thinker has done this. Stephen Covey turned timeless habits into a global franchise. Simon Sinek packaged psychology into Start with Why. Marie Kondo turned tidying up into an empire. They didn't invent cleaning or motivation. They owned a perspective. That's your opportunity too. Let's make this real with examples. Example 1. The consultant. Maria is a marketing strategist. She's helped dozens of clients grow online, but she's always explaining her process from scratch. One day, she documents her 5-step approach to launching digital campaigns. She names it the Momentum Framework. Now she sells workshops teaching the framework, licenses it to agencies, and even certifies coaches. Her ideas, once scattered across projects, now earn her passive income and recognition. Example 2. The freelancer. Jamal is a designer. He notices every brand project he takes follows a 3-phase pattern. He turns it into a visual brand DNA system. Now, instead of competing on price, he sells methodology. His clients no longer hire a designer. They buy the brand DNA system. That's intellectual leverage. Example 3. The creator. Lena runs a small YouTube channel about productivity. She creates a concept called micro-discipline, a 10-minute-a-day method for building habits. It becomes her signature idea. She writes a book, builds a course, and suddenly, she's not just another productivity creator. She owns a lane. The principle is the same across all. Document, name, claim, share, protect, scale. Here's how you start building your intellectual property today. Step 1. Identify your repeated genius. What do you do repeatedly that works? Document it. Record voice notes. Map your process. Step 2. Give it a name. Names create memory. A named method becomes an asset. The Eisenhower matrix. The Pareto principle. The flywheel model. What's yours? Step 3. Create visuals or language around it. Turn your framework into a diagram, story, or acronym. That's how ideas travel. Step 4. Share and test it publicly. Write a post, publish a mini guide, Teach it. The more you articulate, the clearer and more valuable it becomes. Step 5. Protect it. Register copyrights, trademarks, or at least timestamps. Document ownership legally. Step 6. Monetize it. Turn it into courses, licensing, products, or branded services. Remember, IP is the foundation of scalable income. Every step you take toward owning your methods is a step away from being replaceable. Here's the punchline. Your brain is already a factory of intellectual property. You just haven't labeled the products yet. Don't die with your framework still in your head. Don't let your brilliance vanish into meeting notes and whiteboards. The people who document their methods don't just build businesses, they build legacies. So the next time you solve something smart, stop, write it down, name it, own it. Because in the new economy, ownership isn't about real estate, it's about idea estate. Subscribe for more episodes that teach you how to turn thinking into wealth. Your ideas deserve to live forever, and they can if you own them. 2. Cultivate brand trust. In a digital economy, trust is the new currency. Be known for consistency and authenticity. Let's rewind. A few decades ago, brands could win just by showing up on TV. If you had budget, you had attention. If you had attention, you had sales. But something shifted. The internet democratized visibility. Everyone became a brand. And suddenly, the consumer didn't just have more choices. They had control. They could fact-check your claims in seconds. They could read reviews, compare prices, and smell inauthenticity from miles away. That's when trust stopped being a marketing slogan and became the foundation of every purchase decision. Think about it. Would you give your credit card to a website that feels sketchy? Would you subscribe to a channel that sounds fake? Would you believe a CEO who changes their story every quarter? Exactly. The modern audience isn't cynical. They're cautious. They're not looking for perfect. They're looking for consistent and real. Here's where most businesses fail. They believe trust can be hacked. They think a rebrand, a few testimonials, and a shiny mission statement will do the trick. But trust doesn't come from what you say. It comes from what you repeat. Consistency is what turns words into credibility. Every inconsistent message, every broken promise, every "we care" post that doesn't match your actions, it all erodes trust. And in the digital economy, once trust is gone, it's almost impossible to buy back. Look at the biggest brand collapses of the last decade. WeWork, FTX, Theranos. Each had hype, each had funding, each had a story. But what they didn't have was authentic integrity. The audience doesn't just listen, they sense. They read between the lines. They detect tone, emotion, hesitation. They know when you're selling, and they know when you're serving. And that's the paradox of digital branding. The more you try to look trustworthy, the less trustworthy you seem. So, what actually builds trust? Let's break it down into 3 invisible pillars. 1. Consistency. The alignment between what you say, what you show, and what you do. 2. Authenticity. The courage to be transparent, even when it's uncomfortable. 3. Competence. The ability to deliver what you promise, reliably and repeatedly. Consistency earns attention. Authenticity earns respect. Competence earns loyalty. Now here's something fascinating. Neuroscientists found that trust activates the same region of the brain as love and safety. That's why we feel safe buying from certain brands. It's literally emotional validation. Trust reduces uncertainty, and uncertainty is what the human brain fears most. In other words, your job as a brand is not just to sell, it's to reduce fear. That's why brands like Patagonia can charge more and still have fans lining up. It's not about the product, it's about the promise kept over decades. And this is where authenticity becomes a strategy, not just a value. When people feel that your story aligns with your behavior, trust compounds. Every honest post, every transparent decision, every customer-first action, it all adds to your credibility bank. Let's talk about real examples. Case 1. Apple. Apple's trust doesn't come from marketing. It comes from ritual. Every product, every keynote, every store, every update feels consistent. Even when they fail, like Maps or the butterfly keyboard, they own it. That honesty builds confidence. Case 2. Patagonia. When Patagonia said, "Don't buy this jacket," they weren't joking. They meant it. They prioritized sustainability over profit, and that radical authenticity turned them into a global symbol of integrity. Case 3. Tesla. Love him or hate him, Elon Musk built Tesla's brand on transparency. The entire product roadmap, failures, and even live testing are shared publicly. That raw openness makes people feel like insiders, not customers. Now let's contrast that with fake transparency. Brands that post "we're listening" after a scandal, but make no internal changes. Or influencers who preach authenticity, but filter their reality beyond recognition. In both cases, audiences sense the mismatch, and that emotional mismatch is the death of trust. Because here's the rule. Once your brand's actions and message diverge, no amount of marketing can reconnect them. Here's how to cultivate brand trust starting today. 1. Define your why clearly and live by it. Don't let your mission statement collect dust. Make it your decision compass. 2. Be radically consistent. From your visuals to your tone to your customer service, everything should say the same thing about you. 3. Show your humanity. Admit mistakes. Celebrate progress. Share lessons publicly. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with honesty. 4. Deliver relentlessly. Trust is performance repeated. Every on-time delivery, every truthful update, every honest refund builds equity. 5. Protect your brand like a relationship, because that's exactly what it is. Built slowly, lost quickly. So next time you're thinking about how to grow your business, don't just ask, "How do I get more followers?" Ask, "How do I earn more believers?" Because followers click, but believers commit. In the end, trust doesn't scale through technology. It scales through truth. And in this noisy, algorithm-driven world, truth is the loudest marketing strategy you've got. Stay authentic, stay consistent, and remember, trust is your ultimate currency. 3. Build digital leverage. Use media, code, or automation to multiply your impact without extra labor. For centuries, wealth was built on physical leverage, land, labor, and capital. You owned factories, machines, or people's time. But in the digital age, leverage looks different. It's not about owning more things. It's about building systems that work for you at scale with zero marginal effort. Think about it. A YouTube video can educate millions. A line of code can automate entire businesses. An email sequence can sell products while you sleep. That's leverage in its purest form. Exponential output, minimal input. Yet most people still operate like it's 1950. They grind, hustle, and exchange hours for dollars. Meanwhile, a new class of digital builders is quietly stacking assets. Not real estate, but digital real estate. Channels, courses, apps, automations. They build once, they earn forever. Here's the brutal truth. Hard work alone is no longer enough. We live in a world where someone working fewer hours can outperform a workaholic simply because they use leverage. A YouTuber with 50 videos can reach more people than a full-time teacher ever could. A coder with one automation script can replace 10 employees. But here's the tension. Most people misunderstand leverage. They think it's about outsourcing, hiring, or delegation. That's human leverage. Useful, but limited. True digital leverage scales infinitely because it uses machines and media instead of manpower. The misconception? I'm not tech savvy, so I can't build leverage. Wrong. You don't need to code like Elon Musk or build tools like Google. You just need to think like a designer, someone who builds systems that run without constant supervision. That's what separates creators from consumers, builders from workers, owners from employees. Let's break digital leverage into its three core forms. 1. Media leverage, content that scales you. Every video, podcast, or post becomes a worker that never sleeps. Media gives you infinite reach at zero extra cost. 2. Code leverage, software that scales your output. Whether it's a website, app, or automation, code amplifies productivity beyond human capacity. 3. Automation leverage, systems that remove friction. From scheduling tools to AI assistants, automation frees you from repetitive tasks and lets you focus on high-value creation. Together, these create an unstoppable feedback loop. Your media attracts attention. Your code converts it into action. Your automation sustains momentum. And when all three align, you no longer work for your business. Your business works for you. Let's look at real examples. Media leverage. Mr. Beast uploads one video and earns millions. Not because he works 10x harder, but because he built a system where attention compounds. Code leverage. Indie developers automate SaaS tools that earn monthly revenue without ongoing labor. Automation leverage. Entrepreneurs run entire product launches through preset systems, from email flows to AI customer support. And you can do it too. Start small. Record your knowledge. Automate your emails. Use AI to handle your scheduling or client onboarding. Every layer you add creates a digital clone of yourself, one that works 24/7. That's how leverage starts. One automation, one system, one piece of media at a time. Here's your roadmap to build digital leverage. 1. Audit your time. Identify repetitive tasks you can automate or delegate. 2. Create evergreen media. Start a channel, blog, or newsletter that compounds. 3. Learn basic automation. Tools like Zapier, Notion, or AI assistants can save hours weekly. 4. Build small code assets. Even a simple tool or script can multiply your reach. 5. Integrate systems. Connect your media, code, and automation into one seamless machine. Remember, your goal is not to work harder. It's to build smarter. Because in the digital era, systems sweat. Here's the paradox. The less you do manually, the more you achieve. Digital leverage turns you from a worker into a creator, from a hustler into an architect. So ask yourself, what will keep working for you after you stop? That's your leverage. Start building digital assets today, because every minute you spend creating leverage is a minute your future self earns back, with interest. And remember, don't just make money. Make systems that make money for you. Subscribe if you're ready to escape the grind and build a life powered by digital leverage. 4. Protect what's unique. Register copyrights, patents, or trademarks if relevant. Even a small IP portfolio builds long-term value. Let's rewind. A century ago, wealth meant land, factories, or gold. You could see it, touch it, count it. But in today's economy, wealth hides in code, creativity, and contracts. Think about it. The world's most valuable companies, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Disney, don't own oil fields or steel mills. They own patents, copyrights, trademarks, and algorithms. In fact, over 90% of the S&P 500's total value comes from intangible assets, ideas, brands, designs, and data. That's not a coincidence. That's strategy. Because once you protect what's unique, you stop playing defense and start playing ownership. Yet most entrepreneurs ignore this. They spend years building a business and then watch someone else steal their idea, rebrand it, or patent it first. Why? because they think legal protection is only for big companies. Wrong. The truth is, IP protection isn't just about law, it's about leverage. When you file a trademark, you claim territory in the marketplace. When you register a copyright, you freeze your creative fingerprint in time. When you secure a patent, you weaponize innovation itself. And when you don't, you leave your empire open, exposed to anyone with more money or faster lawyers. Here's the tension. Creativity makes you rich, but protection keeps you rich. Let's unpack the psychology and economics behind this. Why do protected ideas outperform unprotected ones? Because protection breeds confidence, and confidence breeds investment. When investors see that your product name, your content, or your tech is legally yours, they see safety. They see stability. They see potential. That's why Disney spends billions defending its characters. Why Coca-Cola's secret formula is locked in a vault. Why Tesla releases patents selectively, not out of generosity, but strategy. Elon Musk understood something simple. Ideas can spread, but ownership must be controlled. By releasing some patents, Tesla positioned itself as the leader in EV tech, while still owning the core innovations that competitors can't touch. And the same principle applies to you. Whether you're a YouTuber protecting your brand name, a designer safeguarding your logo, or a startup founder filing your first provisional patent, every piece of protection compounds your power. Let's look at real-world examples of small players who turned protection into profit. Case 1. The indie musician. A songwriter copyrighted her tracks early on. Years later, one of her songs went viral, and when brands wanted to use it in ads, she owned every right. Passive income for life. Case 2. The app developer. A solo coder patented a specific algorithm for data compression. Tech giants approached him, not to sue, but to license his patent. He didn't need millions of users. Just one strong idea. Case 3. The coffee shop owner. She trademarked her quirky brand name. When a larger chain tried to copy it, she didn't panic. She invoiced. Trademark protection turned a threat into a check. See the pattern? Protection isn't a cost. It's an investment multiplier. Even having a few registered copyrights, one trademark, or a pending patent creates psychological and financial leverage. It tells the market, I own this. Respect it. Here's your step-by-step blueprint to protect what's unique. Step 1. Identify your IP. List what you've created. Names, logos, slogans, designs, products, code, or content. Step 2. Prioritize value. Not everything needs a patent. Protect what drives revenue or defines your brand. Step 3. Register basics. Start with a domain name. Trademark your brand. Copyright your original work. Cheap, fast, powerful. Step 4. Document everything. Keep time-stamped records of creative work, drafts, prototypes, or scripts. Step 5. Build your IP portfolio. Even 2 or 3 small protections create long-term leverage for future deals, licensing, or exits. Remember, every great empire begins with a single borderline drawn on a map. So here's the final thought. In the age of AI and automation, your most valuable asset isn't time or money. It's originality. And originality without protection? That's like gold left on the street. So protect what's yours. Register it. Own it. Defend it. Because when the world imitates, you'll be the one who profits. And that's the difference between being creative and being legendary. If this hit home, subscribe for more deep dives on how to turn creativity into capital. Because your next big idea deserves more than applause. It deserves ownership. 5. Invest in companies with strong, intangible fundamentals. Look for moats built on data, brand, and innovation, not just assets on a balance sheet. Let's rewind to the industrial age. Back then, power was physical. The more steel you owned, the more wealth you held. Factories were fortresses. Tangible assets, land, machinery, raw materials, were the ultimate moat. But as the world digitized, something shifted. The biggest companies, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, own relatively few hard assets compared to their market caps. Their value comes from intangible fundamentals. Data networks that get smarter every second. Brands that command irrational loyalty. Cultures that produce innovation on demand. This evolution didn't happen overnight. It's the result of decades of transformation, from physical capital to intellectual capital, from production power to information dominance. Yet here's the problem. Most investors still think in tangible terms. They look at financial statements and ask, what's the book value? What's the PE ratio? They treat data, brand, and culture as soft factors, too fuzzy to measure. And that's exactly why they miss the biggest opportunities. Take Coca-Cola. Its factories aren't special. Its secret formula, maybe. But the real moat? The brand. The emotional connection billions have with the red can. Or think about Google. Its servers are tangible, yes. But its true value lies in the data ecosystem. The feedback loops that make its algorithms smarter, faster, and more profitable every time you search. Here's the tension. Accounting systems were designed for an industrial world. They simply can't capture the worth of an idea, a design language, or a user base that trusts you. Let's break down the 3 pillars of intangible fundamentals that separate mediocre companies from unstoppable empires. 1. Data moats, the compounding edge. Data isn't just information, it's self-improving capital. The more users a company attracts, the more data it gathers, the better it serves those users, creating a virtuous cycle competitors can't replicate. That's why TikTok exploded. Its algorithm fed itself richer behavioral data every day. That's why Tesla isn't just a car company. It's a rolling data collector. Every mile driven teaches its AI more about real-world driving than any lab could. 2. Brand power. The emotional fortress. A brand is more than a logo. It's a promise that people trust. Apple's customers don't just buy phones. They buy identity, design, and belonging. That's priceless. When people feel connected, they stop comparing specs and start defending loyalty. That's when pricing power, the ultimate financial superpower, is born. 3. Innovation culture, the renewable engine. Innovation isn't random luck, it's a system. Companies like Amazon institutionalize curiosity and risk-taking. They build teams that fail fast, learn faster, and never stop iterating. That's how they stay ahead, not because they predict the future, but because they're built to adapt to it. These 3, data, brand, innovation, form what we call intangible moats. They're invisible, yes, but their effects? Impossible to ignore. Let's see how this plays out in real life. Case Study 1. Tesla, the data flywheel. Tesla isn't valuable because it sells cars. It's valuable because every car is a sensor feeding its AI billions of miles of real-world data. That's why its self-driving models advance exponentially while competitors crawl. The asset isn't metal, it's machine learning. Case Study 2. Nike, the emotional empire. Nike's factories are outsourced, but its idea, just do it, is owned forever. Its storytelling, endorsements, and cultural influence compound over time. Every product it sells reinforces a shared belief system, not just a purchase. Case Study 3. Apple. Innovation as DNA. Apple doesn't chase trends, it creates them. Its innovation process, from design minimalism to hardware-software fusion, turns every launch into a cultural event. That's not luck. That's intangible infrastructure, systems of taste, excellence, and secrecy that no one else can copy. Each of these companies proves the same truth. You can't outbuild an idea whose moat is invisible. So how do you invest in companies with strong, intangible fundamentals? 1. Look for compounding data loops. Ask, Does this company get smarter the more users it gains? That's a data moat. 2. Assess brand power, not just marketing spend. Is the brand self-reinforcing, meaning customers become advocates without paid ads? 3. Evaluate innovation systems. Does the company have processes that breed new ideas consistently, or does it rely on one lucky product? 4. Study leadership vision. Great intangible moats often trace back to founders who think in decades, not quarters. 5. Ignore outdated metrics. Book value doesn't measure culture. PE doesn't price in innovation. Use qualitative insight as a quantitative edge. Here's the irony. The strongest companies in the world own the least. They rent factories, outsource logistics, and license technology, yet they dominate markets through assets you can't see. So next time someone tells you to buy what you can touch, remember, the real wealth is invisible. Because in the new economy, intangibles aren't just assets, they're destiny. Stay curious, stay contrarian, and remember, the mind builds bigger empires than metal ever could. Subscribe if you believe in thinking beyond the balance sheet. Remember, in the next decade, the richest people won't be those who own things, but those who own ideas. The world is shifting. Factories can burn, machines can break. But ideas, they multiply, they spread, they evolve. So ask yourself, what invisible assets are you building? Your knowledge, your reputation, your digital footprint? They might just be your trillion-dollar company waiting to happen. Because the next generation of wealth won't come from what you can see. It'll come from what only you can imagine.